Hey guys, welcome to today's FindTheBestCarPrice.com video. Today we're going to look at the 2022 Chevrolet Bolt EV. This is the 2LT trim level. It is a front-wheel drive hatchback, and it has a sticker price of $35,195. Let's get started with our tour. There is a refreshed exterior and interior styling. You will also find updated front seats and an infotainment interface that we'll take a good close look at shortly. Adaptive cruise control is now available. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto now offer wireless connectivity. That is always a plus. So let's take a quick tour of the exterior and interior of this year's model. Starting out here with the front end, you can't help but notice the design of the headlights, the blinker housing, everything that's here. Really kind of an overall sporty look. And I'll give you a look at what that looks like as best as I can on the screen. We kind of a bright sunny day here, a good thing because we've had a lot of rain lately. And as is typical with an EV model such as this, you're not going to have a full open grille right here because obviously you don't have a radiator, you don't have the same kind of cooling system here as you normally would with a gas burning engine. Got that blacked out Chevrolet badge right there that actually fits this model pretty well. Of course, black trim all the way around. Speaking of the overall look, I did mention that it's been restyled for 2021. Here's a quick little montage. Now, I must admit, the numbers are impressive as far as estimated mileage and all that good stuff goes. How far can you drive on a single charge? While GM estimates 259 miles, other people who have done a full-blown test, something I don't have the luxury of being able to do today, have reached nearly 280 miles. So that's kind of almost as if the same thing you would have with a gas-powered vehicle. When you start to get to that E and it actually hits empty, you still have some reserve left over, so you can still drive a little bit further. Same thing here. When it looks like you're going to be out of complete charge, well, you're still likely going to be able to drive a little bit further, at least based on estimates from the manufacturer. Not that I would suggest pushing that, but so roughly 259 miles is the number that Chevrolet gives. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more than that. And you can have chargers installed at your house. Obviously, it'd be the best thing to do. And supposedly GM will pay for that in certain situations. Let's underline that. So I don't know what the stipulations are on that, but I do know that that's something that you can potentially do. So let's talk a little bit about safety features such as lane keep assist. I'll give you a partial list on the screen, but there's a full list via the link down in the description of the video to the Red River Chevrolet website. We've got 17-inch wheels, of course, here. And I always talk about this, and I guess I should still do it, whether it's here or not. So if you're asking about the 1LT package having the turn signal indicators built into the mirror, not on this trim level. Now, here is where your charge port is located. There's nothing special, nothing you have to do. It just, that's simple. All you're gonna do is push on the door right here that opens right up, and there is your charge port. And yes, this model does come with its own charging cable. And there are a number of options for what you can have installed at your house if you want to have something installed to charge your vehicle at home, which obviously is really, really important. Of course, you're going to have typical features here such as passive entry, only available on the front doors here, not on the rear, but it is there nonetheless. And here on the rear, got the rear roof spoiler helping to keep that rear window clean when you're driving down the road, the shark fin antenna. But of course, if you need to use it, you've got the rear window wiper right here. And again, the 1LT trim level, that's not going to be a power rear door, but not difficult, very easy to get open. It has the struts on here that I like to see on the hood of all vehicles that make opening the hood so easy. You don't have to look for that little stand to put in place manually. It's not a bad thing, not a big deal, just something I prefer. But you do have them right here, and that's a good thing. So that makes the assist of opening the door much easier. You just get it started, and then the struts take over. What about cargo space? Well, I'll give you that information as far as what you have. And let me move something out of the way here real fast, just so I can show you one of the nice features. Of course, I told you earlier, it does come with a charging cable here. That is not very neatly wound up. I apologize for that, but there it is nonetheless for you to take a look at. And I like the fact that you have a floor that tilts up and out of the way, and you don't have to do anything other than just kind of pick up on it. It has almost a built-in assist system to help with that, and more storage underneath here. And so basically that's what you have back here. Of course, you can maximize your cargo space by lowering down those rear seats, and the cargo cover right here is removable if you wish to do so. And I'll just give you a good view of the back seat here with some images that I got earlier. Not a lot to really talk about back here. Again, the 1LT trim level, so we get a higher trim level here at Red River Chevrolet. I can definitely show it to you and show you what's back here. You don't have air conditioning vents back here, but in a cabin of this size, that's not going to be a problem. You do have some hangers right here for hanging whatever you might pick up, maybe from the dry cleaners or whatever the case may be. And while I can't necessarily stick my legs out real far, my feet are under the seat like this, and I have a little bit of space between the seat and my knees here, I am fairly comfortable back here. I don't know how long of a trip I could handle back here, but it's probably not as bad as you might expect. I don't think you can see that I do have a little bit of space above my head at 5'10", and I'm not even sitting all the way up. So let me do this. Okay, if I was 6 foot, maybe 6'1", yeah, I might be a little cramped back here, but let's hop into the front seat. That's where the real action takes place. There's a lot of great technology to talk about up there. Let's just quit talking and get up there to look. By the way, before we move on to the front seat, one very important note. Child safety locks. Where are they located and how do they operate? Well, you have one on each door here in the rear on the driver and passenger side. And it's this switch right here. So here's how that works. If the door won't open, that's how you fix it. When it's facing the rear, basically to the left, if you're facing it like this, it's going to be on the left. That means it's unlocked. And it has a diagram right there to make that real easy anyway. Not a big deal to figure out. But you push it forward towards the front of the door or to your right if you're facing it head on like I am. That means the child safety lock is activated. So if you're all alone and maybe it's hard to crawl over into the front seats, be careful to take a look at that before you hop in the back seat when you're by yourself and close these doors so you don't accidentally lock yourself inside. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what you're going to find here in the front seat as driver and front seat passenger. There is more space up here, of course, than you would find in the rear of this particular model of vehicle. And something that's interesting, let's say that maybe you saw my video or you've taken a look at the Volvo XC40 Pure Electric, the Recharge, the P8, that is a fully electric vehicle, just like this one is. When you hop into that one, all you do is hop in, it recognizes the remote, and you just go down the road. You push the accelerator and you go. It's that simple. If you want a little bit more of maybe, I don't know if I should call it an old school experience or old school feel, and you want to push a button, you have push button ignition right here to start and stop the system, we'll say. You also have push button shifter right here, so you actually put it into drive and reverse and all that kind of stuff. And by the way, the rear view camera, the reverse camera, we'll say, is nice and clear, good clarity on that. Nothing unusual. GM is very good with that. But let's just take a look at the dashboard, for example. I'll run through some of the features you can find there as far as different information that you can see. Of course, you can see the charge of the battery, so you know how much battery life you have, and if you need to get to a charging station or home or whatever the case may be. Steering wheel mounted controls here, the typical stuff you might expect. Now, if you're looking for information on what this is on the left-hand side of the steering wheel. Kind of looks like a shifter paddle. There's only one on the left-hand side, nothing on the right. That is for regenerative braking. That's how you adjust that. And of course, on the rear of the steering wheel, you've got the controls for the radio, for changing stations, and managing the volume. And as we move to the infotainment screen here in the middle, that's a new interface for 2022. I believe that is nicely improved. It's not that what was in the past with GM vehicles was lacking, but I don't know. I just really like the way that looks. Tell me down in the comments what you think about what you're seeing. And of course, you've got the control here for the radio. You can mute that, change the volume there as well. You can go home and you can select your way around on the different screens with this bottom toggle right here, or knob. All you do is push that check mark to select whatever it is you want to see. And a lot of this is going to, of course, be very commonplace to those who have been GM owners in the past as far as different settings, apps. You've got your vehicle settings right here. Very much normal right there. But you do have the icon right here that says energy. Let's go in and take a look at that, and I will show you the multiple screens and how that looks as far as the information you can get about your Bolt. Pretty much what you would probably expect unless you're new to this kind of a vehicle, and I know there are likely people watching who are. Now, underneath that you will find everything for controlling the single zone climate control. Like I said, you don't really need much more than that in this particular vehicle. But here's the thing. On the screen, it might look like that's actually a digital screen. It's not. It's actually just buttons that you push, and there are some switches here on the bottom as well for controlling fan speed and all of that kind of stuff. You even have heated seats, something we definitely don't need in Northwest Louisiana in early June. That's for sure. And here with the push button shifter in front of that, you can see some of the controls there, including the ability to go into sport mode. And I'm probably going to drive in sport mode to see what that's like on our test drive. The only regret I have is that I forgot to bring my Dragy today, so we can't really do a 0 to 60 test. We're going to be out in 5 o'clock traffic anyway, and even though we don't have massive heavy traffic in Northwest Louisiana here in Shreveport-Bossier, it's still enough to where I think I'm just going to take my time and not really do any 0 to 60 runs. We'll see maybe on a future video about that. Of course, you've got your cup holders here and the center console. By the way, this is the new Vehicle Visionary t-shirt with the C8 Corvette on it. I think we're going to change up our production process as far as what we're doing, but just so you can see what's available right now, if you are interested in that, there is a link down in the description of the video, and you could probably fit a good 4 or 5 of those t-shirts down into the center console. Now, what about connectivity? Seating in the back seat, did we? It's right here in this area. I'll show you on the screen in front of where the shifter is, and all of that is located, just so you can see where that is, and just an overall look at what the interior looks like here in the 2022 model. Got a power driver's seat, manually adjustable passenger seat. But I'm very curious to know, believe it or not, I have not had this model out on the road, so I'm going to actually turn the camera around and let you see my reaction the first time I drop the pedal, the energy pedal, not the gas pedal, not the fuel pedal, the energy pedal, the battery pedal. I don't know. What do we call that? It's a different world and a different time. So sometimes you have to get out of habits of calling it the gas pedal, because obviously that's not what it is. Let's quit wasting time. I've talked for a long time. No more rambling. Let's get on the road. Okay, we're going to hop out on the road for our test drive, but the first thing I wanted to do is get out here and do a quick little acceleration pull. So here we go. Let's see how this one launches. Wow, spinning the tires. It's still spinning the tires. Holy cow. That was more impressive than I thought it would be. I mean, yeah, with all that torque, yeah, it spun the tires there pretty good. I'm kind of surprised at that. But it is a front-wheel drive vehicle, and that's why it spun the tires. I've driven other EV models from other dealerships that are all-wheel drive, and you're not going to spin the tires. If you do, you need new tires, or you're just making a lot more horsepower than stock numbers, but that's the situation here. So I'm going to change lanes here because I got people merging from the right and want to be polite and let them in. I wish more people would do that. I try and treat people the way I want to be treated. So what is my impression here? In fact, before I forget about it, let me mention one thing that some of you might have had a question about. I didn't think about talking about this earlier in the video. What is regenerative braking? That is a method that is used as the vehicle is slowing down to help replenish the battery. And there's varying degrees of that, of course, because as you can see, you can adjust that via what looks kind of like a shifter paddle here on the left-hand side of the steering wheel. And I like the fact that that's there as it is, that you don't necessarily have one on each side, because I know I've seen other vehicles that had that, such as the Honda Insight. And some people might look at that and think, well, those are shifter paddles. In fact, I'll tell on myself, the first time I ever saw that, that's what I thought. But the YouTube correction Nazi community, of course, came out in full force telling me what they really were. Was there benefit to that? Well, I guess there was, but I still have to pick on those people who think that their daily job is to correct people on YouTube. Anyway, the real reason you're watching this video is not to really be entertained, or maybe it is, I don't know. What do I think about the Bolt? This is my first experience with one. Well, I've driven around a little bit and had a couple of videos that I tried earlier that didn't work because I needed to change the SD card out on this camera. So I can tell you my experiences and just couldn't show them to you. But taking some corners at a decent amount of speed to see how this Bolt handles, well, it's not bad. It's not really meant to be a high-performance vehicle, of course, and really doesn't necessarily handle like one, but at the same time, it does have some very solid handling characteristics. The ride quality is good based on what I've experienced. Just being honest here, I'm not on a terrible road, but I do know where the bumps are on this road because I travel it a lot. And I've traveled it in a multitude of vehicles, and a lot of those have been high performance, a lot of trucks, a lot of SUVs. And so I can tell you that the Bolt handles the bumps pretty good. Now that might change a little bit from one road surface to another, but that's the case with all vehicles. Even the most plush Cadillac out there, or whatever the grandma car might be. And you know, I just got passed by a subcompact, and I could have some fun with that, but you know what? I'm going to be good and not do that, but it would be kind of funny. And they were polite enough, a very unique driver. They must not be from around here because they changed lanes in front of me, safely ahead of me at a safe distance, and they used their blinker. I talk about that a lot here on my YouTube channel, don't I? Just having some fun, but there's not a lot of people that do that around here. But overall, what are my experiences here? What is my opinion of this vehicle? Well, I have to say, it handles well, it drives well, the steering wheel is comfortable, the steering is good and responsive. And one thing that I've definitely noticed over the course of time, this being a front-wheel drive vehicle, there was a time when you knew you were driving a front-wheel drive vehicle just by the way it handled. Car makers have really improved on that over the years. You don't really have that sensation that you used to with the front-wheel drive vehicle. Let's see if you can hear the sounds of slowing down with the Bolt. Kind of sounds almost like you're slowing down and turning down the turbines on a jet or something like that. Well, maybe that's a bit extreme, but just to keep from rambling on too terribly far, I have to say I'm pretty impressed here. And even though I haven't done a lot of hard acceleration pulls, I don't know if this model was charged up since it made it to the dealership, but let's see how we do here. Let's just take off and see what happens. Man, this thing spins the tires. That is insane. That probably just surprised some people at the light back there. That's pretty funny. You could see, maybe see the Chevrolet, or maybe it's a GMC, but the full-size truck that was behind me, that's actually kind of funny. I probably surprised somebody with that. That's what I really wish I could see, is the reaction on people's faces when I take off in something like this. Because I guarantee you, if they don't know what they're looking at, They're not expecting that. That's half the fun of having an electric vehicle that has good acceleration. Okay guys, real quick. One thing I forgot to talk about is one pedal driving, and I'll show you the button on the push button shifter down here to turn that on. It's the very last one after drive. So what that means is that when you're driving in a parking lot, driving down the road, you literally use one pedal, and it takes some getting used to. So if you try it out for yourself, you're gonna try it in a parking lot the first time maybe. But what happens is when you take your foot off of the power pedal, see, I almost slipped and said gas pedal. I've got a friend in the car with me now, but it literally stops the vehicle without you having to touch the brake. You still can, but I just wanted to make sure I covered that so that you know that the option is here. To learn more about the model in today's video, visit the link in the description for a detailed comparison between trims and pricing for the vehicle we featured or any other vehicle you are interested in. These pages feature information such as our recommended trim level based on price, value, and features. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. We look forward to seeing you next time.